Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. In today's proceedings, a parolee up for revocation takes a bold step. Instead of pushing for freedom, he admits that going home would set him up for failure and asks for something most wouldn't: time in a program that forces him to get his life together. His violations weren't about dodging the system. His life was unraveling fast, and addiction wasn't far behind. The board's decision could mean the difference between breaking the cycle or repeating it all over again. Let's see how this all works out.
Good morning. The Committee on Parole is called to order. It is 8:52 a.m. on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. My name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chairman of today's parole panel. Colleagues on the panel, seated to my left is Mr. Chuck Tillis, to my right, Mrs. Jerry Ledoux. We are at DOC headquarters in Baton Rouge. I'd like for our staff here to introduce themselves for the record. Sure, I'll be
Francis Abbott.
And our first remote location this morning is at Orleans Parish Prison. Good morning, sir. Aaron, is there anyone in the room with you? You're on mute. We need to get you to unmute the microphone.
Probably shouldn't have touched that, but is it working fine?
Yes.
Okay, good morning.
Would you introduce yourself for the record, please?
My name is Aaron. Ma'am?
Name and DOC number.
Okay, we got a lot going on in the background. My name is Aaron Sanko, DOC number 627602.
Pronounce your last name again?
Serenade.
Serenade, okay. You heard the introductions. You're here for a revocation decision this morning. Do you have any paperwork there with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay, there's a parole revocation questionnaire that you were presented at your preliminary hearing. We're going to put it up on the screen. I'd like you to verify if that's your signature at the bottom of that page.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
So according to the information contained in that questionnaire, Mr. Serenade, you were not eligible for appointed counsel, nor did you request one. So are you prepared to proceed this morning?
Absolutely, ma'am.
So I'm going to read the violations against you, after which you should enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, and then we'll have a conversation about it, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You're accused of violating the conditions of your parole, and first of all is condition number 3. And it states, the condition states that I will live at the address on this certificate, referring to your parole certificate, good time certificate. If I must move from the address, I will get permission from my parole officer before doing so. In addition, I will not leave the state of Louisiana without written permission from my parole officer. The allegation is that you absconded from supervision in April 2024 and your whereabouts were unknown until you were arrested November 29, 2024. So how do you plead to violating condition number 3? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Guilty. Then we have condition number 9, and that condition states that I agree to visits at my residence or place of employment by my parole officer at any time. I also agree to searches of my person, property, residence, and or vehicle when reasonable suspicion exists that I am or have been engaged in criminal activity. The allegation again is that you absconded from supervision in April 24 and your whereabouts were unknown until you were arrested November 29, 2024. So how do you plead to violating condition number 9?
Okay, so that coincides with violation number 3?
Yeah, because the allegation is that you were not available for visits at your residence or place of employment.
Ma'am, I plead guilty.
And last has to do with your fees. You've not made any supervision fee payments. And as of December 9th, 2024, your arrearage is $1,073. So how do you plead to violating condition number 10?
I plead guilty.
All right. So, Aaron, you also pled guilty at your preliminary hearing to all 3 violations. Tell us what was going on with you.
Well, on that's in the West Bank of New Orleans. And, everything had been going good. Everything was going pretty good, but I was having a little trouble getting to work. And, I made a mistake. When I left my prison sentence, I was on fire for God, you know, I was on fire in my faith, I was deep in my faith, but I made a mistake and I put something before God, and that was my wife. And so I didn't know what I was coming home to. I thought I had an understanding of what I was coming home to, but what I should have done is I should have came home and used the resources that were available to me, and I should have established something for myself and for my family, which I didn't. And I came home to a kind of tricky, kind of dense situation, and you know, things wasn't really in control. Things was kind of out of hand, and financially we weren't stable. And you know, trying to take care of things at the house. My stepson was into some stuff in the streets and stuff, and I was trying to get him out of it and mentor him out of it. We eventually lost our home, and we had to relocate. So when we did so, we went to South Louisiana, to where I'm from. That's where you may see in the records where I had changed addresses to 464 West 47th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana. Okay. And once again, the situation wasn't what I thought it was. My father has land there, and he has a camper that was on the land. So when we moved there, I was under the impression that I could just pay a couple $100 and get the lights turned on. But the storm previously had tore away all of the property. So the camper that was placed on the property needed an elevation permit to be able to get electricity put there. And so it was over like $2,000-3,000. It was $2,600 from what I can recall. And it was just my wife, she catches a social security check, and being in the rural part of Louisiana like that, it's really hard to work if you don't have a vehicle. We didn't have a vehicle, so we were living off of a generator, and we did that as long as we could. Her son was murdered, and so we were raising her granddaughter. And so, like, at a certain point when that became kind of harsh living conditions, where Mr. Becknell was checking up on me, I had sent them back to New Orleans. So I sent them back out here, and I stayed down there for about a month, still trying to get it together, and I couldn't. And I started to, I believe in honesty being the best policy. I just want to be honest with you guys, because I feel like we can have a better understanding then.
Yeah, well, so let me interrupt you, please. When did you move to Cutoff?
I moved to Cutoff probably early November of 2023.
23.
Yes.
Okay, and so you were being supervised then, and this says that from April of 24 is when your officer had no knowledge of your whereabouts. So where were you in April of 2024?
Well, because of the situation with not being able to get electricity and living in like a privatized state like that, I came back out with the help of the Muslim Reentry Initiative. It's a nonprofit called MRI. I had moved back out here in New Orleans, and I called Mr. Becknell, and I let him know, like, hey, I'm sorry that I didn't ask permission. I'm sorry, you know, that I didn't previously, you know, let you know. But I moved back out to New Orleans, and it was bleak. The situation was bleak, and I needed to move. But I'm
So
here.
why did you not make contact with the parole officer?
And that was what he said. He said, hey, man, you're doing better than most people. You contacted me, but you need to go and sign up. And so I didn't sign up. And with all of that said, it was no one else's responsibility but my own. I don't have anyone to blame before you guys. I don't have any excuse. It was as simple as just go and give an address, and we wouldn't be talking today. And that's the most foolish mistake.
But Aaron, you're a fourth offender. You've been on supervision before.
I've never been on parole before, no, man.
So you've never had a parole or probation officer.
I had a probation officer probably about 10 years ago.
So you had a probation officer at least 3 times?
No, only once.
So you're a 4th offender though, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So how much time have you done in jail ever at once?
5 years.
Was that for this particular time?
From the incarceration that I'm on parole for, yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned your wife several times. Where is she today?
I was hoping she would be here. Kind of a little disappointed that she's not. All's well.
You still in New Orleans? Where is she?
She stays in New Orleans East. My wife is a CNA of 30 years. She's a 45-year-old lady. She's never been in trouble before. I was hoping she'd be here to speak on my behalf, but all is well.
Yeah. All right. So you pled guilty. What were you hoping was going to happen today? You pled guilty to violating your conditions of parole.
I understand that I'm not eligible for a technical revocation. And I understand that today it's very likely that I'm going to be revoked. I'm just praying for favor in the sight of God, and I'm praying for leniency. But in life, we have to learn how to take accountability for our actions. So as I said, I don't have anyone to blame for not signing up when I came back to New Orleans. So I'm praying for leniency, but I understand that the situation may leave me with.
So you mentioned you couldn't get to and from work. What was your last job that you held?
I worked at police for 3 days, and the manager she had a lot of corrupt stuff going on, and
Where was that at? Say that again.
Wendy's, and
Wendy's.
that's whenever I moved back out here from Cutoff. I worked at Wendy's for 3 days, and there was a lot of stuff going on there was a lot of drugs and stuff at the restaurant. I worked there for 3 days, and I was like, I don't want to be around this.
So you got a lot of excuses there, and you got to grow up a little bit, I believe.
I have no excuses, ma'am. I should have done differently.
You do have excuses. That's all you've been telling me today is excuses after excuses. And, I'm concerned about you. I understand your situation where you had to move from the West Bank to cut off and all that, and having difficulty with transportation and what have you. I don't have any other questions. Any questions?
No. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Tillis has some
What
questions.
do you plan to do if you're released again?
I developed a little bit of a drug problem towards the end. And if I'm released again, I don't want to go home just yet. And I had to help my wife understand this. I don't, right now, I can't walk out of these doors and go and get high. But if I'm in a rehabilitation center, then that's a step forward for me, because then I can walk out at any time, but it's a choice of mine. But if I just go straight home, I don't want to live this life anymore. Like, regardless if it's right now that I get released, or if I get released in 2029, I don't want to live this life anymore. I've lost everything. I've lost everything being in prison. My last incarceration, my sister died 12 days before I got before I was released. I just don't want to leave this anymore. Like, I have a little girl whose dad's been murdered, and so she tells me one day she doesn't have a dad. That broke my heart. Like, I showed her that responsibility. Like, I don't want to be a disappointment to my family anymore. Like, and I don't want to be a disappointment to myself, and I don't want to be a disappointment to God anymore. I don't want drugs as part of my life anymore, but I still am worried about my struggle with it. And so if I'm released today, I don't want to go home. I want to go to a rehab.
All right. What about work release?
This would be fun. I think that that would be similar to it because at least I would be exposed to, I would be exposed to the world. I just don't want to go home just yet.
Yeah, I don't ready to go home either. I think, but you need to have something lined up for a job and a way to support yourself, a way to support your family. I do believe there may be, some availability of a work release program where you might be afforded a substance abuse education at least. Would you be willing to do that
Yes, ma'am.
for a long term?
If I knew exactly what to do with my life, I didn't have a greatest upbringing. If I knew exactly what to do with my life and I had guidance, then I wouldn't be here before you guys. And so whatever suggestion you have.
Stop. I'm trying to give you some help. I'm going to vote. My vote today is in lieu of revocation that we send you to participate in a transitional work program, work release, for 9 months. After you're released from, and hopefully it'll be one that has some substance abuse education so you can address that issue. After release, you're to have a substance abuse evaluation and comply with any treatment plan that is recommended for you. Now, I'm just one vote, but that's what I want to do. Mr. Tillis,
I concur.
Mrs. Ledoux.
You know, Aaron, I think we're giving you the best shot to get straight that you can get at this point. My vote is also to send you to a transitional work program, requesting that if they can find one with substance abuse education to do that. You do need to do some follow-up. I really hope that you have the opportunity to make some better reentry plans. Look for a place that you can settle down and get your life together. Okay.
Good luck to you, Aaron. That concludes our business. We're going to sign off. It's 9:09.
Thank y'all.
The parole board took a different approach, not just enforcing the rules, but trying to keep him from slipping through the cracks. Their decision offers him the chance to break the cycle. The next step is in his hands, which may be the last real chance he has to turn things around. What do you think? Will structure be the thing that finally keeps him on track? Or is he just buying time before falling back into old patterns? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more gripping courtroom moments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.